Hello, friends, and welcome to one of the best days on Earth. My name is Alex Standing. Today we get to talk about Mass Effect. I'm joined with the RPG Queen, K-Star, Kim Wallace, coming at you.
I love this energy. This is amazing. This is what Mass Effect does, baby.
Today is such a good day. Also joined by the BioWare one, the Legendary Edition herself, Liana Ruppert. I just pulled that completely out of my butt. Liana, how are you?
You did well. You did well.
Thank you.
I love it because in every video I always manage to talk about Mass Effect, and now I can actually talk about
Today is the day. Today is a very exciting day, as you can hear from all of our tones. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition has been announced for a May 14th release date, but there's a lot more to be excited about because we have a full month of exclusive coverage from your guys' written stuff.
Okay, I don't like the word "exclusive." Don't ever do that.
I was trying to replicate my predecessors. It won't happen again. But
how dare you?
So we have a lot of exclusive coverage coming in the next month, which I am very excited about. But this is kind of the kickoff to that for us because you two have actually seen the game. And now is the time where I'm going to shut up and take in all the information that you can give because I'm so excited to hear about it. So, Kim, if you want to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to talk about this is what BioWare wanted to do is this is in itself a trilogy. It is a story of Commander Shepard spanning across 3 games. Everybody loved that you had those choice and consequences. So what did they want to do? They wanted it to feel more like each game wasn't so disparate from the next, like separate entries. They wanted to unify it is, I guess, the best word. So they actually started backwards working on it, as me and Liana learned. Like from Mass Effect 3, they went and they looked at all because the assets were obviously newest there and wanted to their goal was to bring the other 2 entries up to that standard. Obviously, 3 and 2 weren't that different, as different.
One.
But then we had Mass Effect 1, which was, more of the black sheep because they were just starting then. It's the oldest entry. They were still deciding if they wanted to be, a full out RPG or, be the cover shooter that it became as the series went on. So what me and Liana really learned was what they were going to do to make this feel like a more unified experience. And I think I'll let Liana talk a little bit more about this, but it started with them saying, okay, from the moment when you make your Shepard, we're going to make it so your Shepard really feels like each entry that you move on to is the same Shepard and not you made like this one that doesn't even look, anything comparable to the next. So I think one of the things people be excited about is more customization options. And as Liana said in our video, this is the fun. She goes, yes, Shepard finally has good hair. So
yeah, oh my God.
Liana go into more, like I can go into more of it too, but I like, that was the big first thing that we saw. And this includes too, like if you like that iconic Mass Effect 3 avatar that was on the box art, you could start with that character from the first game and play as that character.
Yeah, that was it was always weird that they like randomly out of the gate had like a female Shepard default because like before you couldn't. And I don't care who you are unless you heavily modded it. Y'all, it's time to accept the fact that your femshep was ugly in Mass Effect 1. You may think she was
had like this weird like secretary hair. I don't know. It was like as close as I could get to what I wanted.
It legit looked like no matter what I did, she legit looked like a young Joan Rivers, and like it just was really awkward.
It's not a bad thing.
It was, but I don't want Joan Rivers leading an army. Like, I mean,
she used to back in the. Anyways,
God rest her soul. But yeah, no, they had like actual hair options, actual skin tones, because they had very little not accessibility, but options for people that were not white, so they have more people of color choices.
Yeah, you can like rock corn rolls now and a high top fade and all that, and it looks, you can create a more natural looking Shepard. That their whole point of this was like, we want this character to be able to represent you and the character you want to create, and they didn't feel like the options they had before really were able to do that. So I'm glad that this kind of, brings in more people to being able to create the type of Shepard that they want.
Definitely.
I like too that the fact that so there's the thing with remasters is there's this spectrum of remasters. There's the remasters that are almost borderline remakes with how many changes are there, and then there's the remasters which are more akin to EA releases that are barely their tweaks. Like, okay, it's a remaster, and I feel like and it's not just excitement that makes me say this. I really feel like the remaster was small in terms of like how different it looks, but the small changes mean so much because there's a lot of like Kim said with number one, it was great. The story was phenomenal, but they were still world building at that point. They were cramming a lot of foundation to build up for the trilogy. And because of that, there were some pacing issues. The first part of the game was a lot slower to start. You didn't really see where it was going yet. And then it got, found its legs or whatever. But another thing that with that is the fact that it didn't age well. Like in Dragon Age Origins is the same issue, is it didn't look, Ashley and Caden had those weird wooden teeth. It just didn't age well, especially comparing it to Mass Effect 2 and 3. And even though Mass Effect 1 doesn't look akin to Mass Effect 3 as we would like it to, it does have a lot of similarities to Mass Effect 2. It fixes those issues, but more than that, it added details that were sorely needed, like Ios. They added reflections. If you go to Ios, this is a very pivotal point in the story, and it was so one-dimensional. And you're exploring this Prothean Ruthian, like ruins. Like this is supposed to be an exciting thing, and it was all one-dimensional. There was no shading. It was
very
just
sterile.
It was
very exactly
sterile.
that was what they had brought up to us. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Liana.
No, you're fine.
I just wanted to add so they get some context of so they went in for Mass Effect 1 and realized that the environments were sparse. Like there could have been more going on in them. Like I said, they're just getting started. And so they did these paint overs and added details to them. And it is the thing me and Liana got the most excited about when we saw the game, just because it's not that they fundamentally changed the levels, like where things are or anything. No, but they touched things up in such a way where it is just like,
it matters.
Like just moving the sun around and the way that you are moving can make like all the differences they were showing us. And I think that's what you were getting at, Liana, and going into more detail, and is like what you loved that you saw with those levels that had changed. Because they brought in stuff from Mass Effect 3 too. They could use some of the tech that they had there to kind of spruce these levels up and make them more fun to explore. And it's not that it's going to change your expectations, but it gives you just a nicer look visually, and more grounds you, I feel like, more in the world.
Yeah, they did a lot of dimension, which made it easier to get immersed in the world, which was nice. One thing, too, I really liked is Novaria. So there's a part in Novaria where you're going to Arachni, and not without going into too big a spoiler territory, but there's this huge ramp that you drive up with Mako. And there's all this destruction, like, because the Geth have infiltrated and they're wreaking havoc. And there's all this destruction, but you don't see what caused the destruction. It was just random fires and random broken parts of the rampart. And there was no context in the environment. And one of the things they did too with this location specifically was now in the backdrop, you see like a cityscape. You see burning in the background. You see that this was a place where some sort of battle took place. Whereas before in the original trilogy, it was just implied that happened. Yes. And I thought it was really important because that is the part that Mass Effect is one of the most immersive experiences I've ever had in gaming. So making those details makes it even more so and brings it up to the people that never played the original trilogy. And more than that is the fact that it doesn't change anything fundamentally. This feels like sort of the people that are returning to the trilogy. This feels like the Mass Effect they know and love. And even better is that it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's organic. I did like the fact that they made it more cohesive with the trilogy, though. They tweaked the UI with the first Mass Effect. They tweaked the UI to be more comparable to Mass Effect 2, which was great because the UI was absolutely garbage. They did some tweaks to the Mako to make it more handleable, but they really wanted to keep it as organic to the original trilogy as possible. But beyond with just the Mass Effect femship for Mass Effect 3 being across all the boards, they also made tweaks to really pivotal places like Horizon and Eden Prime. Eden Prime is where it all starts. Yeah. But when you go back to Eden Prime in Mass Effect 3, it doesn't look at all like Eden Prime you see. This is what they did is they took a lot of those crates and those little buildings you could go into from the third game, and they actually put them into the first one. So now the two locations actually look like the same location, just versus just slapping the name Eden Prime on it and being like, good to go. They'll remember.
Yeah, and that's the one where they reposition the sun, so you're facing out with it.
All right. So, what is one last takeaway from your guys' experience seeing the game? Kim, or Liana, we started with Kim before. We'll go with Liana this time. Make it fair.
What okay. So you guys know, like, the elevator scene is like in the Mass Effect 1 was like the loading screen in between, levels and missions and stuff. And it's kind of like the running joke. Like, there's even like people that did fan art of the cover being Elevator Simulator. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
But the cool thing I like is one of the improvements. There's a lot of quality of life tweaks, but one of the improvements was elevator time. So they actually did a side-by-side comparison. So the original elevator took almost a full minute to load up, and you've got the banter, and that's what makes it fun. But then they loaded up in the legendary, and from the point of entry into the elevator to walking out in the Citadel only took, I think, 12 seconds.
Yeah, it's
which
crazy.
was a huge thing.
Wow.
But it's nice because when they showed us that, I was worried. I was like, but why would you want to skip that? Like, that's banter. But the banter is actually sped up too. So the second you go in there, that banter or that news clip that's going to be heard over the speakers, that automatically cues. So you're not sacrificing anything, which is kind of nice. But that's like one of the ways the story is, I think, improved upon. And like we said, those tiny ways that they make improvements.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a tiny thing, but it changes the immersion. And that's going to go really nicely because what I think a lot of people are going to be excited about is either you play, I've come across so many people that played the original trilogy, but they missed out on the DLC, which Mass Effect has some of the best DLC I have ever seen. Pancake! She wants to talk.
Sorry,
it's incredible. Keep it going.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a sabotage. It's a kitty sabotage.
I love it.
It's incredible.
Like, so many people don't play it. And the Citadel DLC is is the reason I have so many playthroughs of the third game, because it is a gem. And then there's the Leviathan DLC that makes you meet the creators of the Reapers. Like, why would you want to miss that? And people didn't get Javik as a squad mate because they didn't buy that DLC. So the fact that they are including all of the story DLC, all of the weapon packs, and all of the armor, first day bonuses, all of that's included in the Legendary Edition. So even people that are going back but may not have experienced every single additional piece of content, they can now experience it as a whole picture versus as spliced up as it was, which I'm really excited to see how people take that. And newcomers, that is the way it's supposed to be. I've bought the trilogy so many times for friends demanding they play it. And let me tell you, having to freaking add in those DLC packs was really expensive because there's a lot of them. So like having that all together, it's great.
Also, are they really your friends if you had to convince them to play Mass Effect? I don't know. Maybe not.
Traitors.
Reevaluate your friendships, maybe.
Kim, how about you?
So, some people argue with me. I know there's plenty of people who are like, the Mako is not that bad. Kim Wallace does not like the Mako. And that frickin' six-wheeled vehicle was a thorn in my goddamn side when I played that first game. And, BioWare understood people's frustrations because it would move. It's just the slow movement, the getting turned around. I have bad memories of it. So BioWare wanted to make like the handling more realistic and it less irritating to drive. So they did go in and they added like a speed boost, camera shake, better aiming for shooting. I know a lot of people had issues with that. There's updated physics and also an alternate control scheme that can now be like camera centric instead of Mako centric like it was in the original. So they also went in and I think they smoothed out the shooting, obviously, to make it where it's, the heat of battle. You're not feeling like you're missing shots that you thought you'd get. There's like an aim assist that, ensures you get easier access to your targets that wasn't there. They make the reticle stickier when you move it over to foes, so that's better. And even like snapping the aim when you strafe, and that's a big part too. So like I said, these are things that, going back and playing these games, you feel like, oh God, like I have to put up with this because it was an older game design that they're smoothing out for you so they're not such a frustration without fundamentally changing the game. Like, we were even talking to them about like the boss. I think everybody remembers the brutal Nenzia fight that you had in Mass Effect 1. And they talked about how, at that time, they didn't do a good job of giving you like, that's just if you remember during this fight, sorry, I know not everybody, but you just got she'd summon all these freaking reinforcements constantly, and you had God, if she got her gunfire or like her deadly biotic powers in your face, it was brutal. And so it was real brutal. And they didn't want to take the challenge out, and they didn't want to change the fight design at all. But what they did was they added a few spaces where, like, for more wider areas so you could have more cover just to ease those frustrations, added more auto saves to that battle. It's just simple things that like go and make a big difference from when you're playing. And not, like I said, they're not changing like level design or anything. It is they wanted to stay true to the experience you remember. And I think that's what people wanted, an updated way to, you know, relive Commander Shepard's story. And hopefully you know, all this is a good way for other people, you know, who haven't played the series to finally jump in and experience it. And for me, I know I'm just like, hey, now I get to see what I would do. I'm quite older now than when this when I first played the trilogy. Like, will I feel the same about these characters? Will I make some of the same choices? You know, how will I play differently? I think I'm just really excited to see if I still feel the same way about certain moments and characters as I go through it again.
Yeah, I was in high school, and my understanding of the world is much different than it is today.
Right.
So it's like I can't wait to go back and see if I romance the same people and stuff like that. And
Scares.
Miranda, I'm coming, baby. I'm coming back.
Cated.
Well,
check.
I'm excited. Jack too. I can't wait. Rex, Grunt. I can't wait to get my whole crew back together. Thank you guys so much for imparting your wisdom here. I know I can't wait. Hopefully the GI community feels the same way. Let us know what you think in the comments, respectfully, of course. We, like I said at the beginning of this video, we have so much great Mass Effect stuff coming out now. Like, these two ladies did an amazing job, and I'm so excited for you to read what they did. So thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You know the whole rigmarole. youtube.com/GameInformer, GameInformer.com. Do we know the content hub? GameInformer.com.
Yes, ME Legendary.
ME Legendary. That's all you need to know, folks. So thank you so much, and we will see you next time.